Hello and welcome to my studio. My name is Jane and I run Snapdragon Life, which is dedicated to rekindling people's creativity and reconnecting them to the natural world. And today I am here to talk about my natural dyeing, because behind me is the project that I've been working on for around about the last 6 months. Every Friday I give myself a bit of playtime and I use one of the plants in my garden to dye 4 skeins of wool. And in a good week I get 4 completely different colours. And I'm gradually knitting them up into this blanket that you can see here. So what I'm going to do on this YouTube channel is every month or so I will show one of my experiments. Today it is going to be dyeing with carrot tops, and you can follow along as the blanket gets bigger and bigger and bigger, fingers crossed. So let's go and have a look for some carrot tops in the polytunnel. This is my polytunnel, which is just behind my house. Now if we open the door, you can see there's not really very much growing there at this time of year. But I do have a little crop of carrots that I sowed probably the end of October. They're not very good carrots, but they do have decent carrot tops, and that is what I'm going to try dyeing my wool with today. So I have my pan, I have my carrot tops, I have some water in here, I have some washing soda which I'm going to use to alkalise the dye pot, and I have some muslin to put in the dye pot, which will just keep the carrots away from everything else. So first thing, pour in some water. This is rainwater, so that I know that it started off nice and pure. Then I'm going to put the carrots in, just roughly twist them up. Like that. Now a teaspoon of washing soda. And then stir it all round. Bit more water. And turn on my stove. So I'll bring this pan up to a simmer for around about 45 minutes, which will just get all of that beautiful dye out of the leaves, and then I'll leave it to cool overnight. Right, so all of those carrot tops have been in this pan overnight, so they, it's kind of a muslin bag. You can see beautiful, beautiful colour. Put that to one side. Now the first thing that I need to do is to double check the pH of this dye pot, because if you remember I put some washing soda in it which will have made it alkali, and there you can see it's a dark bluey green, so that is around about 9 on my pH scale, and I want it to come to about 7. So in here I have some vinegar, which is acid, and I'm just going to add a wee splash of that in. Stir it around and then retest. Now the reason that I put the washing soda in is that I have found that with most things you get a deeper colour if the actual dye pot, when you're extracting the colour, is alkaline. And the reason that we need to change it is that if I put my wool into an alkali dye pot, it will damage the fibres of the wool. So it needs to be either neutral or acid. You can see here That's now just a plain, straight, slightly greenish yellow, but certainly not blue or green. So that's coming in on my thing here as either a 6 or a 7, both of which would be fine. And now that we are back to a neutral dye pot, it's time to add the wool. These are mini skeins which have been mordanted in alum, so that's aluminium potassium sulfate overnight, just in a mix. I'm going to pop this, and you can see immediately we're getting a really nice kind of khaki tone of green. I'm going to pop that in there, and I'm going to do 2 of these. Squeeze out as much of the liquid as possible, and then just put it in to the dye pot. I'm going to heat that back up to kind of just hand hot, so you could put your hands in it, but it felt really a bit hot. And then I'm going to leave that there for maybe an hour, and then let it cool down naturally, and we'll have another look at it. Right, it's the next day, and my wool has been seeping overnight. You can see it's kind of a rather nice greenish yellow, a soft colour. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep one of them, this colour, and I'm going to try and change the other one into a darker green. So to do that, I'm going to modify it with ferrous sulfate. Ferrous sulfate is iron. So I'll put this one away, and then I'll make my iron mixture. I do it in this plastic bowl. I never heat wool in iron because I think that can damage the fibres and make it less soft. So I'm going to put some water in there, and then this is my ferrous sulfate, and I want a teaspoon, which I know is around about 4 grams. So pop that in there. The important thing is to keep the iron away from everything else. And if I had a studio that wasn't currently with half its floor up, I would be on a different table filming this. But at the moment I'm just having to be very, very careful. So about everything that I use here, I'm going to put in a different space, just so I don't get iron on anything. So I'm stirring this until all of that iron dissolves, and then I'll take this skein out of here, just liquid out, make sure that it is back being a kind of a circle. You don't want it all tangled, and I will just wait 5 or 10 minutes until that begins to change colour. It's a process that's called saddening in dye terms. So this is the colour that we're getting from the carrot tops modified with iron. It's beautiful mossy green, and to remind you, this was the colour that we got before it came out. Now I'm going to let these dry naturally, and I'll show you them once they're dry because they will be paler. And I'm going off to write a guide to how I did that, and that will be available as a free download at the bottom of this, underneath the video. So if you fancy dyeing with carrot tops, that's what to do. Go and get the download.